And we're live. All right, guys, welcome to our I don't know what this is now. Fifth live stream now with FTC 116.290 Zip Ties. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Aren't muted. Yeah, so we're Team Zip Ties. We are a second year FTC team. Last year was our first rookie year in Skystone, and the 2 years before that, we were an FLL team, Air 404.
So I'm Aryan. I'm the build and mechanical lead for Zip Ties, and yeah.
Yeah, I'm Sanat. I'm the programming lead for Zip Ties.
All right.
And I'm Devin, the co-leader of Uplift Robotics.
And I'm Nitin, the lead builder for Uplift Robotics. You've probably seen me before. All right, we'll get started. So I know you gave like a brief history of your team. So could you go a bit more in depth on your like team history? What are some of the accomplishments you guys made last season and stuff like that?
So last season was our first season, so we definitely it was just a big accomplishment doing what we did, and at least for what we thought, like how well we did. So talking about our accomplishments in our league championships, we were actually the fourth seed alliance captain, which was a big accomplishment for us, right? As like a rookie team, being like an alliance captain, like at the even though it was like at one of the lower level tournaments, like it was still a big deal for us because it was like our first year and all. Switching from Lego robotics to metal pieces was a big thing.
Yeah, we also got the third place Think Award, which was also a very big accomplishment for us.
Yeah, I know you guys had like an amazing rookie season. That's kind of the reason why we wanted you guys to give a bit more like tips and tricks for other rookie teams who are looking to get started this season. So, all right, we'll move on to our next topic. So, can you guys talk a bit about how you guys organize yourselves, especially during COVID? Obviously, it's going to be different, but how you've traditionally done it, and then we'll talk a bit about COVID in a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So last year, our big thing was that we would find where everyone's strong suit was. So for Sonic, it was programming, and for me, it was building. And then the newer members, either to first tech challenge or just the first in general, would work not necessarily under us, but with us and learn like while we learned, and we would help them learn. So no one was actually I wouldn't say wasting time, but like kind of wasting time. So it was all just the whole like learning experience for everyone, and so even though people were leads, like a lead build and lead programmer, they would also split off into other things that they weren't that wasn't their strong suit. So for me, it was the notebook and business, and for some, it was also the notebook and business.
Yeah, so like we mainly had like one lead in like each field and like one like kind of like like kind of like a substitute kind of. So I was the lead for programming, Aryan was like the lead for building, and then we would all like work together on the different things, so like notebook or like strategy stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah. Can you guys talk a bit about how your transition from FLL to FTC and like the difficulties you faced, or yeah, I guess we can start there.
Yeah,
Oh,
so like it was like a big kind of like a shock change from like FLL to FTC. Like FLL, it's a lot more like FTC is like a lot more like it's a big scale. FLL is just like you do project, do you build a robot and you run it. FTC is like a lot more. You have to go do fundraising, outreach, all that stuff. So there was like a lot of like time that we had to put into transitioning and like learning about like different like what FTC actually is about. Like I know we visited like different teams and like where they work, and then we like talked to them and then like they showed us around like what they do and like kind of how their team works. So we learned a lot from that.
and another big change was, at least for the build team for our first year, was organization. From first Lego League, you could miss a beam or a peg here, like in the kit, and that would be no big deal. But with working with the metal robot, just you would need the precise size screws and all the nuts in place and everything. And we just stuck to our like unorganized thing like last year, and it really just didn't work out. Which is why this year we're making sure our team is a lot more organized, especially like the parts and physical pieces.
Interesting.
Now, I'm just curious. You guys said your name was Arrow 404 FLL.
Yeah.
What made you change your name to Zip Ties in FTC?
It was kind of sad. We were trying to keep our same name, Air 404, but then we found out there was already a team in Florida called Air 404. So
Yeah. That was a
we
big
had to
thing.
change. It was a very sad moment.
Yeah.
I guess it worked out
Yeah.
though.
Yeah. At the end it
Yeah.
did.
All right. So we talked a bit about your challenges. So, I guess what do you guys want to move on to next? Let's.
I mean, we could talk about the game strategy for last year, or like how we just decided to like
Okay.
build up a strategy.
Okay. So we'll start with
Yeah.
kickoff. So, obviously, kickoff happened. This is our
Yeah.
first stream since kickoff, I think. Yeah. So, how do you guys like? How did you do it last year? What was the differences between how you did it this year, or what did you learn from last year that made this year different?
So for sure, last year it was our first year, and we all got really excited after we figured out Skystone was the game, right? So the builders straight went just to putting screws together and connecting everything, and just building in general. And this year is definitely nothing like that. Not only because it's the whole coronavirus situation, but last year that led to a very inaccurate robot. So this year we're going towards a more design first approach, which is what we're doing right now and for this season.
Also, like last year, it was we didn't really talk that much about what our plans for like kind of like the game, like our strategy for like auto pass, teleop pass, stuff like that. What we wanted our robot to be able to do. We just went straight into building and programming it. So this year we're doing a lot more like planning. So kind of looking at the game, looking at like the point values, seeing what's more of like effective to do. Like kind of designing like the auto path, like teleop strategy before like we start building a robot.
Yeah, it's a really good thing, especially for um, especially before getting to any of the buildings. So, all right, I guess we'll start talking about a bit about like your design process. So,
Yeah. So last year, our whole design process was as a rookie team. It was all that we weren't really. So we started off with smaller goals, right? Having this attachment on our robot and this small thing. But while doing that, we never really designed first. Yeah, we had drawings here and there, and we pitched ideas. We never actually catted our robot until after we built it, which was a big problem last year when we faced like small things would not align together just because the whole pattern in our mind and the whole pattern in real life is not always the same. And so this year is definitely a big switch to CADing first, going through multiple iterations of CAD, making sure all the mechanisms part of the robot fit together and flow simultaneously. And yeah, that's a big thing for hardware. But talking about hardware also during the coronavirus, this year we're taking precautions and making sure that only 2 to 3 members of the actual team are at the patio, which is where we work, at once, all wearing masks, safety goggles, and making sure everyone is feeling well before they come.
Like to add on to what Arian was saying, we always what last year what we tried to do is we try to like work on small like goals and then work our way up to big goals, and this led to like our robot trying to do a bunch of things at once, like trying to use like one attachment that was suited for we had like a claw that was for picking up stones. We tried to like use that to move foundation around, which wasn't really effective. So this year we're probably we're like planning on more like what is our goals for our robot before we actually build our robot.
yeah. Um, all right. So, going back to the design process, I know you said that you wanted to use a lot more CAD this season. Can you talk a bit about your CAD software and how you guys utilize it?
So basically, I use SolidWorks, and that's the so our team is switching from Creo from last year to SolidWorks just because we believe it's more of built software that has more features that our team can utilize in FTC. So, talking about SolidWorks, I mean, you can make the parts and the components and everything, and it's the whole point that CAD is just designing the robot online, which is a great tool because if you mess up, it's not a waste of time. It's more of a Control Z or Command Z, depending on what you're using. And we like, basically it's just saving time and saving like cost too. Because if you mess up with a piece of wood or something you're building, right, you it's gone, right? You can't really just put it back together or something like that. So it's just saving time, money, and just being more conservative in general.
Yeah, I know that's one of the big differences between FLL and FTC is their
Mm-hmm.
like their reliance upon CAD for like designing your robot. So,
Mm-hmm.
can you talk a bit about like um, how you got into CAD necessarily? Like how you
Um,
got like your start into CAD? Because I
yeah.
know
So
that's
my
different. Yeah.
yeah. So going from FLL to FCC, I really didn't know what CAD was, but I knew that it was something we had to do. So last year we used Creo. We just based off of what we saw other people do. But this year we definitely took the approach of asking around. So Josh Barther from Team 7477 Super 7 actually, if I had a question with SolidWorks, he would come and help me here and there, and just collaborating with other FTC teams. And I think the biggest question is that if you have a question and no one knows the answer, Google will always have the answer, or YouTube will have the answer. So you just punch it into Google or YouTube, and you'll find the answer somewhere or the other. So I think the biggest thing is that if you don't know how to do something, ask, and if you're too scared to ask somebody, ask Google.
If you're too scared to ask somebody, ask Google. That's actually
Um, Google will always have the
Quote of the
answer.
century.
Life lessons from Oregon.
so. I know you
So
talked.
what about? Oh, go ahead, Nitin. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Devin.
What about your manufacturing? What are your capabilities for that?
All right, so for last year, we really had no manufacturing capabilities other than just a long sheet of wood and a saw. So, and I mean, we worked off of that, and that's like here to say that you don't need all the high-end laser cutting tools and 3D printing tools to function as an FTC team. Yes, they will help you and help your process, but it's not needed. But this year, we're switching around to buying a 3D printer and reaching out to colleges or local just manufacturing facilities to see if we can use laser cutters and stuff like that, just to make it easier and have more freedom when we're actually building, not sticking to the parts and pieces that to give us.
It's definitely a good approach. All right. I think we had one question from chat from Ashni. How are you guys planning on doing outreach this season?
Oh, so you could talk
Yeah,
about.
yeah. We were planning on doing a lot of virtual outreach events because of the COVID situation. So last year we hosted an FLL summer camp, which was pretty successful, and we wanted to carry that over to this year. So instead of hosting it in like summer, we decided to use an online summer camp where we held like a WebEx call, and then we would just like talk to them about different like aspects of First Lego League. Instead of like doing the robot part of FLL, we focus more on the project part, and then we also talk to them about like Python programming, which can be used for many things. And we also hosted a webinar, Zip Talks, where we contacted many different FTC teams, and then we presented about different like things that we each have knowledge about.
Yeah, I know. I think I was watching your Zip Talks. It was
Yeah,
very
it was
informative.
very good.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
All right. I guess we can move on to your the software aspect of your team. Devin, do you want to take this?
Yeah, sure. So we know auto is very important. What was your guys' strategy for auto last year, since you didn't really know that much? Was your guys' like main strategy auto? Was it teleop? What was it?
Yeah, last year we were focused on mainly auto. We were contacting our mentors, and they all suggested working on auto first. So we had some like experience with like autonomous because FLL is like completely auto. So we decided to prioritize doing the Skystones because we knew that many other teams would be able to work on foundation programs and do that. So we wanted to have our auto be customizable with theirs and us to run at the same time. So we started doing like different iterations on how to like detect the sky stones. One thing that like was really stood out to me is that the open source kind of like methods for like the vision, like TensorFlow, Vuforia, like
Hmm.
OpenCV, stuff like that. You don't always have to use stuff like that, things like that. I know a lot of teams last year attempted to use Vuforia, TensorFlow, OpenCV, other things like that, but they weren't able to fully implement it because it wouldn't work for them. It wasn't very accurate. So you can always use your own software. So what we did is we just took a picture and then just saw where like look at the three stones, what's the darkest stone, and that was the sky stone, and that was really accurate. And then that just goes to show that like you don't need something like really complicated in order to get like good results, which was really interesting to me from what I saw.
So for this year, you know like the 3, 4 rings or whatever that you have to scan. Did you guys have any ideas for that? Like what are you going to use OpenCV or TensorFlow? Or are you going to use your own?
We have been experimenting with different ideas. We haven't gotten our parts yet, so we haven't actually gotten a chance to test anything.
Yeah, yeah.
But we've been like experimenting. Like I've been like creating different like testing programs for like using OpenCV, using like TensorFlow, using like some of my own stuff that I made, and it's just like there's like a lot of time between now and the first league meet, so December. So I think we'll be able to get like a lot of testing in and really like hone down that part of auto and get it like extremely accurate.
Yeah,
What about
definitely.
odometry? Are you guys working on that this season, or are you going to stick with encoders?
We've not been able to use it not get like odometry. So what we are planning to do is uh do more linear movement. Odometry mainly helps for curve movement.
Yep.
So we plan in order to, because we don't have odometry, move like linear, and
Hmm.
we like first like start beginning of off season just worked on getting movement in all 8 directions, just working, and then that right now it's working pretty good. So I think we'll be pretty successful without odometry this year.
Mhm.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Um, I know you mentioned how we have our league meets in December now. Obviously, this is dependent upon your own region, but at least for our region in Space Coast and the state of Florida as a whole, um, how are you guys planning on like approaching the competition season since we have a lot more time this season?
Yeah. Basically, since we have like a lot more time, we're probably going to be able to get like auto like a lot more like consistent. This year is like a lot more like variability in both auto and teleup with like the shooting stuff. So like getting that down consistent, and also what last year one of our main challenges is we had like 2 hours of driver practice before competition, and that's it.
Yeah.
So we'll like have time to actually like have more driver practice because like one of the main things like limiting us from doing stacking is we didn't have practice like going and placing the stones, like aligning the stones
Yeah.
together. And it's like similar this year where you have to like be coordinated to shoot the discs. So we'll have like a lot more time for driver practice and like auto fixing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, with the more time we have this year, it also allows for us to CAD more and Yeah, that seems kind of boring, but in more ways that we could, yeah, we could expand our robot a lot more than just doing the basics. Try to learn on making our robot faster, making the motion of everything faster, and thinking of just other ways to do stuff instead of sticking with the every single lead meet. Especially because we have so much time, right? We have time to bounce out between different ideas and actually prototype, test, and redo the cycle, like unlike last year, which I think is really good for this year because it'll allow us to actually make sure everything is perfect before the league meet and not just tying everything up or putting zip ties everywhere the day before the league meet because there's something wrong.
For sure. Um, since we are going into remote competitions, how do you guys plan on handling like the number of members and like the logistics of people in meeting spaces at the same time?
Yeah, so the way we are handling all of our team meetings is we have we have like few members, so it would be like me and like two other people here in the patio where we work, and like those two people would have to like say ahead of time, I'm coming on this day, something like that, something like that. So we'd all have our masks, safety glasses, shoes on, and then the rest of the people at home we have a Google Meet call where we talk to them, and then like we all talk about what we're working on for the day at the beginning, and then at the end of the meeting we talk about what we accomplished, what worked, what didn't work, what we still have to do for the next meeting.
And I think the big thing is that so much of FTC can be done through virtual, like the engineering notebook, the CAD. Some of the software might be able to, even though it's better if you have the hands-on robot to test right after you wrote your code. But since there is so much, yeah, while it may be better to work on the notebook with somebody and bounce off ideas next to each other, it it's definitely taken it's definitely made the notebook more of a strenuous task. Uh, but with the switch to the 15-page notebook as of now, it seems to be looking good. And I think the big thing is that as long as you stay motivated throughout this COVID thing, everything should be fine.
For sure.
When you guys meet at the patio, do you guys do a software day and a hardware day, or do you just mix?
Mainly, what we did like last year, was that some days were like already in like the builders were like they were like having to make like big changes. I would work on like maybe documentation for notebook or like cleaning up code, like adding comments, stuff like that. And then like when they're done and I'm testing auto and stuff, they would be working on like fixing up like their CAD, like writing the documentation for their CAD and stuff. So it kind of like alternate, like based on like who needs a robot when.
Yeah, and definitely from last year, it was more of a build side of the robot, and then programming would be a very low time, which was definitely a problem because we kept wanting to add more and more and more things to make the
Mhm.
robot cool. But as we saw, it took so much away from our auto that could have been done. So I think the thing is finding the right balance between how much time you need for programming and building, and that yeah, while your robot might not be have this many linear slides and this many servos and this many cool attachments, if you could get your auto down and it working, you would probably score more points than teams that have all this fancy stuff with limited time of coding and testing and that sort of stuff.
Sure.
I think that is a big thing that many rookie teams have to face with is understanding like
Yeah.
their capabilities. Since if you understand your capabilities, you know like what you have experience with, or
Hmm.
if some rookie teams don't have any experience at all in FTC, then they can stick with like the um, the bare essentials of the game and then work from there.
Yeah.
And if they
Yeah,
get more stuff, then they can progress from there. So
yeah. Especially for this year with like auto being worth so much points and it's being like tiebreaker points. Tiebreaker points is now auto. I feel like prioritizing auto is like worth a lot more than
Mhm.
just working doing tally up. Like I know last year, like we lost some games because we just didn't have that much tally up score. So this year it probably will be a couple of like a little different. Like autos, like a lot more points and stuff.
Yeah. Definitely.
all right. Um, So I know one big difference between FTC, another big difference. There's a lot of big differences.
Yeah.
um, was outreach. So a lot more community outreach, and obviously international outreach exists. But how did you guys tackle outreach in your first season, and what do you guys learn from it?
So as we talked about before, the first attack and outreach was during our off season with the FLL summer camp. But throughout the actual season, we've done small events here and there. We've like helped Cybernals and Super Seven setting up for their competitions and stuff like that. We've just been help, I'd say. That was a big thing in our outreach last year, helping other teams with things, even though they might be more advanced than us, right? There's like it's still better to always help everyone and just share the word of first.
Yeah, becoming
I
a
think
part of
a
the.
big thing from us is that like when like me and like a couple other kids when like we were like I think in like first or second grade or like third grade, we went to like one of like some FLL summer camp, and that's like what got me into FLL. That's what got me like wanting to do FLL. So we kind of wanted to like spread that to other people. Cause like without like me going to that summer camp, I would have never done any of this. So I think like I just like wanted to like spread that to other kids in our area.
So two other big events that we did was that we invented Super Seven and us. We went to the Turnpike presentation and we went and discussed about them FTC our whole like season like up till that point, which was around February March I think, and then we presented our games right the robot we set up the field and everything, and we just showed a bunch of the people at the American Society of Civil Engineers what like FTC and Skystone was about. And the other big event we did last year was mentoring the FLL team Boogie Bots. Since we live right next to Wilson Elementary, I mean, I'm looking at Wilson Elementary right now from my window. Uh, we're there, we're here. Our bus stop is at Wilson, so it was just such a quick thing for us to go in and help with Wilson's team. It also brought back us nostalgia from FLL because it was just last year. At least then it was. So yeah, it was like helping them and filling our hearts and stuff like that, just in general.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty cool. All right. Um, do you guys have any other like? I guess how do you guys like figure out or like get in contact with other teams and get into some of these outreach events, or did you just
Yeah. So like for like the Wilson like Boogie Boss like when we mentioned them I was like me and like a couple other members of our team were actually part of the Wilson FLL team like way back. And then I think like a couple people from like I think Super Seven came to mentor us, and like that was like really cool. Like seeing like how they like we were like they were like probably like twice our size. Like seeing like how they did stuff, and like it was like really cool. Like seeing like another like kind of like a big team when we were like also small. So we kind of like wanted to do that. So we wanted to like kind of guide the new people who will be doing FEC in the future.
And I think so. You're talking about how we got into some of the events that we did as a rookie team. It's just the word of communication, communicating with other teams, whether it's through Instagram or however through your FTC team's Instagram, or even physical communication. Like around my community, there are like two other FTC teams, Super Seven members and Cybergold members. So it's all in one where we're all really connected, and it shows that you could be connected, you could be friends with each other on opposite teams, which is a big thing embraced by First. And Super Seven helped us throughout many things in FLL, and we've gained like bond over that. And I think that it paid off in FTC where we got to work with them in this Turnpike event, and hopefully other things in the future too.
for sure? All right. I guess we'll move on to your documentation. So obviously this year's a lot different for documentation with the engineering portfolio, I think. Yeah, engineering portfolio.
Yeah,
So, and that was also another big another big change from FLL. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
um, you guys want to talk about it?
Yeah. So when we were going to like FLL from FLL to FTC, we didn't know what an engineering notebook was. So we like I think there was a build it day. I think it was like shortly after the kickoff last year, where like some like I think it was like a team from like Tesla League. They came and then they talked about like robot notebook and stuff. And then I think like some other teams came and like we got to see their notebook and like see what an actual notebook is and what it looks like and like also there are like a lot of like good resources for notebooks. So First has like a couple like archived like good notebooks from like previous years. So like we looked at that. We looked at a bunch of like different notebooks from like past teams, and like that like helped us kind of realize what we have to do, what our notebook should look like, things like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Um.
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
So I was gonna talk about so in FLL there's the whole project aspect of FLL where we created a binder, right, of all of our research that we did. I know Nitin knows because he was on
Yeah.
that Stanford team. Yeah. So that's a big thing. That was also had to do with documentation a lot, right? You were documenting research and stuff like that, and so it's a carryover to FTC that it's not just researching your project solution. It's doing everything from your programming to engineering to outreach to business and just elaborating on everything is just such a new thing to all of us. And yeah.
Yeah. Like one of like the big changes was like we it was like kind of do everything and then like days before league champs document it. So it was like we didn't know like any other way to do it. So we were just like documenting as an afterthought. We would do it later. So that was like kind of like a big like a big like kind of bad thing that we did. Like because I remember like one day we were like doing like backlog of team meeting summaries and we're trying to figure out what we did like 4 months ago. And we were just like sitting, like I was like looking back at old code. What was I working on?
Yeah, and I think that was one of the biggest drawbacks for at least our FTC season last year. Uh, we prioritized robot and programming over basically everything. And yeah, robot and programming is such a big part of First Take Challenge, but so is the notebook. And that's all the rookie teams and just all the teams in general that notebook, robot, programming should all be on the same level because it showed with our notebook last year wasn't the strongest suit of our team. um, and yeah, just doing everything on time and creating a schedule for it and stick to that schedule will not only make sure that you're spending not as much time on the robot and doing the things you love, like for me it's building and for him it's coding, but it'll also just create a better notebook at the end of the day, and it's a win-win situation for everything. And it's just yeah, that's
Yeah.
just a big strategy we're following this year.
Yeah, adding on to like what Aryan was saying, like last year since we were a rookie team, we didn't have like that many like templates or stuff like that we to like base our notebook off. So like part way through the season we were like changing templates, so we had to go back, change all of our previous documents to like new to the new format and do all that stuff. So like what we did like a lot better, like what we did this year is that we like first thing that we did, create all the templates so that we don't have to like go back, scramble, change something to the new template, make everything look organized. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a good thing, especially for engineering entries, because we're gonna have a lot of those. All right. I guess one of the things that stayed relatively consistent between FTC and FLL was definitely the presentation, because if I remember correctly, we have, or I think they might have changed it since I graduated from FLL, but they had 3 presentations.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
project
yeah, the three
core
rooms,
values.
the
I
core
think it's
values.
still there.
No, they changed. I think the core values. They took it out and they mixed it with project or something like that. When we were
Yeah,
mentoring Boogie Bots, they were going over it.
yeah, they made
Yeah.
some changes for sure,
hmm
but
So,
um,
so,
yeah,
so
go ahead.
similarity between both those FTC and the FLL thing is that it's both a presentation and then a Q&A session type format where we also have a little small presentation and then they ask us questions about our team robot programming stuff like that. But I think the biggest difference is that you had a separate session for programming, a separate session for core values, or So you had a robot one, a core values one, and a project one. So you knew how much time to allocate, the 5 minutes in each room. And now we have a reduced amount of time, not the 15 minutes, and we have even more topics to talk about: our business, outreach, robot programming, all that stuff. And it's just how does your team allocate those 10 minutes that we had last year? I'm pretty sure it was 10 minutes.
5 minutes, I think.
Oh, so then yeah, it was 5 minutes. That's even shorter time. How do you allocate those 5 minutes in those 5 topics? And yeah, I think that's a big difference. And also, a big thing is that at least I personally believe that everyone on the team should talk about their experience on that topic. While everyone might not be a coder or a robot builder, they've done something to participate in the team, right? So is that everyone should have their fair share of speaking time, and that it shouldn't just be two main people or three main people, however many people speaking your whole time. It should be a fair share of people presenting and answering the question and things like that. So it just should be an equal thing in the presentation, other than two main people. While that may be what's like the most productive in sense of like quality content, it shows that everyone on your team is working towards the greater good of the team.
Yeah, like we kind of like carried over like a lot of our things from FLL. So, and like all of like the speaking skills that we did in FLL. Like I think, like during like before like we had to go present in FLL, we just like all like say like what we're gonna present, and then like if someone like said something wrong, we just like restart, and then yeah. So like carry over like a lot of the stuff that we did. In FLL, we always prioritize like everyone speaking something, everyone telling what they have to say, and we I'm pretty sure I think that was like mandatory in FLL. I'm not sure, but like even in FEC when you can have like one person go there and speak like the entire presentation. We wanted to like still have that where everyone talks because everyone was part of the team and they all worked on something and contributed to the team. So they should all like have a role in talking in the team.
Oh, and one big thing I forgot about the presentation. For FLL and FTC, this stands the same, but it should be a conversation, not like you're not teaching them about your team, you're talking to them about your team. So while it's a judging room and it should be taken seriously, it should not be something that is strict or scary or something. I've always thought of judging rooms as a conversation with the judges or the people judging your team, basically. And it just enlightens the room. It makes the judges happier, it makes your team happier, less stressed for everyone. And it being a conversation is just easier to talk than it is off of a script. So while it is also good to have a script or organization method to what you're talking about, our team believes that you should have topics that everyone talks about, but it's in everyone's own language and voice. So it's comfortable for them and more of a conversation for everyone than it is a script for the team.
Those are a lot of good tips. I'm not gonna lie.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. I know another big a hurdle for rookie teams, especially during COVID, is getting finances, because a lot of businesses obviously don't have the means to give grants out. So how'd you guys deal with that your first season, and how are you guys dealing out with that now?
So our first season, the first thing I advise to every rookie team is attack all the rookie grants, because granted you'll get some of them or not all of them, and it's the thing that you have it 1 year, and if your team is going on for more than 1 year, you better hop on the grants as soon as you can get them, because those things will save your life at the end of the year when you have to buy other things and you save money not getting the registration or something like that. And it's that while filling out the grants might not be the most fun-filling or fulfilling thing to do, it pays off in the long run, and you'll like notice it as a rookie team that you're not constantly stressed about, oh my god, this much money and then this much money. And it's just the whole point is that, wait a second, sorry for that. So
No worries.
the biggest thing is that just where was I? Oh, the rookie grants. Yeah, you can approach them all and say what you feel that should be said. It's not, again, also those. Yeah, it's a little more strict because it has to do with money, and that's like a scarce resource, right, for everyone. This is a club, right, and we should not be wasting any money. But it's the thing that is these people are wanting to help you, right? These are out here for a reason, so you should not be ever scared approach a grant or anything just in general in FTC.
Yeah. Also, to adding on to what Aryan said, like another thing that we did, we contacted different companies. It's like there are a lot of companies that like have been like sponsoring like different first teams for like a while. So like Lidos as an example, ASC as an example. So like we tried to approach them and like if we don't get money, we at least get like someone who we can contact because these people have a lot of experience in not only first but also in just robotics and like just this stuff in general. So like you can get a lot of mentors from just talking to people in different companies. Like I think one of the mentors like we got was like uh my uncle. He's a programmer, so I didn't know that he does a lot of stuff similar to what we do. So what like when he came over to visit, he saw what I was doing and he like actually helped us a lot out. So like it's just like everyday people that you know can help you a lot with like different things. Like if you don't get money, it's fine. You still get like a connection that you can talk to and help you out with.
Oh, another big thing about the business aspect of First Tech Challenge is that this is something that I live by for all clubs, not only FTC, is that you should never be scared to email a company because the worst thing they're going to say is no. Making one sponsorship letter and sending it to almost every major company, the worst thing you get is either no response or a no. And it takes about 30 seconds to find the company's email and send the email. So I think it was just something that all teams should do. And I think it's something that they always forget that, oh, Microsoft might say no to me. So why? What's the point of it? I mean, if you have the chance of them saying yes, might as well take it because you're not paying to ask them and it's a 30-second thing of your day. So it's ask as many people as you can. The more you ask, the higher probability you'll get some money at the end of the day. And one more thing to add on to business is that ask family members because uh, they might be able to help, and maybe not in ways of like cash value. But as Sonas was talking about, his uncle was a programmer and actually helped him out when he didn't even know that would happen. So I think the biggest thing is approaching FTC help not only in business but mentorship as well.
Yeah. Also, like, kind of adding on to like getting the mentors is like you could like you can also contact your parents like for mentors. Like, some of our the parents of our team come to like help us like saw like when I think like when we were like sawing some wood, they would help Arian out or like I think one of our like motors like the wires like fell off the motor or something like that. So like solder them back on. So like Anup's dad taught like Anup how to do that. And it was just like a lot of people that you wouldn't think could help you can help you different ways in FEC.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I know mentorship is an extremely important thing for any FTC team, no matter if you're experienced or if you're a rookie. I mean, especially if you're a rookie, but even if you're a mentor, there's so much that FTC teams really don't know. So like, there's so there's such a big opportunity to learn from the engineering field or whatever. If it's
Yeah.
business, it doesn't have to be engineering necessarily. It doesn't have to be for the robot. It can be any type of mentorship. Like it can be for branding, branding your like your team around or your organization, whichever it may be, or if it's connecting with others in some form of outreach or community outreach, international outreach, whatever it may be. There's definitely a lot to learn out there from
Mhm.
companies and even just parents and mentors.
Yeah. Another thing talking about mentors is that always like there are always first mentors around you, even though you might not know. So our first mentor that we worked with was Sahil from Super Seven, and then Ruby from Exploding Bacon, the FRC team. And yeah, while Sahil helped us with the robot and stuff, Ruby helped us with our notebook and our business aspect of our team. So it's always that going back on to what Nathan said, that mentors can help with all fields. They could be anybody. They could be younger than you. They could be older than you. It just could be anybody. You really don't know.
Yeah, and like you always want to make sure to thank your mentors and sponsors, keep them updated about like how your season's going, how your progress is like going, what accomplishments you've made, and like always like invite them to come to your meetings, invite them to come to your competitions. Like I think like one of our sponsors from ASCE, he actually came to our league meet, our second league meet, and watched us run the robot. And it was like he was like he really saw like how what his support allowed us to do. So I think it's like a big thing for both us and for your sponsors and mentors is like have them like come and like see what like they helped you with. So like make sure like you thank them and like keep them posted about what you're doing.
Yeah, and the big thing to maintaining sponsorships and stuff like that is show them what you're doing with that money and show them what you're doing is actually helping your team succeed. While you might not make it to the next tournament, that does not mean you're not a successful team. It just means you got to work a little bit harder the next season. So I think the biggest thing is show them that you've gained knowledge, you've gained some sort of way as a team because of the donation of whatever quantity money they gave, or whatever quantity mentorship they gave, and it makes them happier, feeling them feel more fulfilled, and it also just makes them know that they're not wasting their time or money on a robotics sim.
Definitely.
It's a very good tip.
All right. I think that's it from the business side of things. Unless you have any other.
Um,
What do you guys think
So
about this year's game then?
yeah, this year's game, I personally like. I mean, I've only had experience with Skystone, but I like it a lot more. It seems like a lot more interesting. Like there's like a lot more stuff to do
Yeah.
instead of Skystone.
Definitely.
Go get a bar. Go get a stone. Put the stone on this foundation. Go back, get another stone.
Yeah, I mean, on the building side of things, I feel like it's a lot more of a, I wouldn't say challenge, but it involves a little more thinking, I'd say, with the whole intake of how the disc is formed, right? It's not a hard plastic thing where you could just like sweep it in like nothing, right? It has some sort of thing because it's a foam build. It's not as squishy as like some may think, but it is definitely squishy some way. And just the whole point is that there's three different goals, and how you gonna hit those three different goals is something even it for programming it's a little harder because accuracy is definitely a big thing in this game because you even hit the slightest bit above the goal you're gonna not make the thing and it's useless.
Yeah.
What Skystone is that even if your thing fell, half of your blocks might land on the foundation and you'll still get points for that, but here's a hit or miss and it's a lot more precise, and yeah, this year just
Yeah.
For sure.
so
Yeah,
how do
there's so much to do in auto. Like there's
Yeah.
so many different things. I don't know if any team can do every single thing that is in auto.
You have to have like some crazy fast stuff to do everything.
Yeah.
dude, if some team could do that, I'd really like to see that. That'd be amazing.
Yeah. Go pick up the rings, come back, shoot some more. I would be very surprised if some team could do that.
Although you can't shoot the what do you call it, like the rings that they put in.
Yeah,
this-
the
Yeah,
stack.
in the middle.
Yeah, but you can still load them up, and then right at telly up starts, you just start shooting them out. So
Yeah,
there's a lot that you can do.
Yeah.
Even if you're not able to shoot, you can still drop them into
the
what's
bottom goal.
yeah, the logo,
Yeah.
and you can still
Yeah.
win points. Like that is a crucial way to help your alliance, or even if you don't have the capabilities to shoot, dropping rings into the logo is still like
Yeah,
definitely a
Yeah.
task to do.
yeah, and I think a really big struggle this year that I don't think many teams will think about is how you're gonna like approach auto because there's so many different things in different parts of the field. It's like there are so many things to do in 30 seconds. How like on earth and like how do you want to split it up and like how do you want to approach it? Because definitely there's way too many things to do in that 30 seconds.
Yeah. I think like this year with like the longer like time between like I think like league champs in like pretty like later than normal. I think that, like we have a lot more time for like optimization, getting like your auto telepath like down. So like over time we'll probably like see like one path like kind of like stand out, probably, or maybe it'll be completely different and it'll be like different paths, like are all viable. So I think this year's like really interesting.
Yeah, for sure. You guys.
One thing. Oh, go ahead, Nan.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. The one thing that's going to be big this year is the power shot, right?
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
That is something
How-
our team was looking into it. Yeah.
Do you guys have any ideas for knocking it down?
So on the building side of things, I think the whole thing is that you want to have a shooter that can practically do everything, that can hit the high, middle, low, and the power shots, which would require the shooter to be either moving in an angular direction or linear direction. And I think it's that big thing. It's that whether, yeah, you could put it on a linear and it might be more accurate because angles are just annoying to deal with sometimes. But the thing is that moving that whole shooter up and down time, so it's time versus precision, which is another debate your team will get into. But our team still hasn't sorted out whether we want to go in angular movement or linear movement.
Yeah.
So it's just there's so many. While there's one thing you do and it's shooting the discs and moving that thing, there are so many different approaches that either conserve time and like are like incredibly unprecise or either super precise and they take so much time. It's like is there a balance and it's how are you gonna find how is you and your team gonna find that balance?
Yeah, and like I think one topic we were talking about was like, is it more efficient to try to shoot for a high goal or like medium goal or like low goal? Because like it might be easier to shoot like the medium or low, but you get less points, stuff like that. So at least from programming side, this like looks like you're gonna have like a lot of testing to do, like a lot of like fine tuning of like values and like trial and error and trial and then error and then you get it to work and then it doesn't work like 2 seconds later.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely optimizing the speed that at which you can like shoot in. So even if you can't like shoot into the high goal, if you can just shoot into the mid goal and just do it faster than every other high goal team, you've basically outscored them. It's only like
Yeah.
a 2 point difference in teleout. Like you just score one more
Yeah,
ring
only
and-
3 points. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like what 4 and 6, right?
yeah, 4 and 6.
Or no, yeah, actually it's 4 and 6.
Yeah, 4 and 6. Yeah. So you can just score more rings, and by the end of the match, you probably outscored the high goal team, and that's
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the thing is with the high goal, right? It's not only higher, it's also short. Like
smaller. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, is it really even worth building a contraption just to shoot in the high goal when it's harder to get there and you have a bigger chance of missing? When if you can optimize the low goal and be the best team at the low goal or middle goal, right? You might be outperforming teams that have the ability to score on the high goal. And right, so teleop is also only so much of the game. You have auto and end game. So yeah.
Endgame's
So I think-
just craziness.
Yeah,
Like
there's also
putting
so
the
much
thing
stuff to do.
over the edge,
The
the,
wobble.
rings, everything.
Yeah, putting the rings on top of the thing, then moving that
Yeah.
to the edge, and then shooting the power shots again. It's like, man,
Yeah, this teach was gonna be insane.
yeah,
Yeah, for sure. And you still have like the parking underneath the bridge, except parking over the launch line. I
Yeah,
think.
I totally forgot about that too. There's just so many things.
yeah. And then like, how many rings should you put on the wobble goal? Should you put rings on the wobble goal at all?
Yeah, exactly. That was also.
I don't
a
even know
debate.
if it's worth it because it's
It
just
might not be
5
worth it.
points.
Yeah, but it honestly depends, right? If you can shoot those 3 power targets in the first like 10 seconds, then I mean, whatever time you have left, I mean, just optimize it, right? So
Yeah.
I think the big thing is that how many contraptions do you want to have in this robot? Because yeah, you'll have that one shooter, but then the wobble goal will be another thing, and then putting things on that wobble goal will be another thing. And it's just that shooter intake system will take up so much of your motors and servos. It's just like will you have that much to build something to pick up the wobble goal?
Like all these extra attachments, yeah.
Yeah, it's the whole optimization of motor servos, just parts in general, and especially the rookie teams that won't have all 8 high-speed motors or all the 12 servos that you can use. It's that how are they going to optimize it? And I think the biggest thing is that no matter how many motors or servos you have, there's always a way to do something. Whether it might not be the prettiest way of doing it, there is always a way. So, like I think the rookie teams that believe that they won't do as well because they don't have X many amount of parts is that there's always a way to do it. While it might not again be the prettiest way, there always is some sort of way.
Yeah, for sure. Understanding, or like brainstorming what you want to do and what you think you can accomplish within the season, even though it might not be like, it might not be as cool as like, okay, I can shoot into the high goal, but like you can also just do you can get really consistent at that low goal or the middle goal even, and then the
Yeah.
wobble goal as well.
Yeah.
And I
There's
think
a lot
another
of
thing
different
rookie
options.
teams barely ever take into consideration, because our team, we understood the fact that engineer notebook was important, but we were always
Mhm.
so robot that your robot might not be the top robot, but if your team is just a great team in general, then your notebook, it'll show through your notebook, your outreach, your business plan, and that your notebook might not be your top thing, but if your notebook is, it still doesn't mean you can't advance on the states or worlds and even win at worlds. So I think that's a big thing, that robot isn't all FTC. It is a big part and it is a fun part, don't get me wrong, but the notebook is also another big thing which can make or break your season. And that's something which all teams, not only rookie teams, should just always have in the back of their head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing is like getting inspiration from other teams. Like you don't have to do it all yourself. There's many other teams who've done
Yeah.
um, like there's a lot you can learn even if you're just as a rookie team or like a less experienced team in like their first couple of years of being a team. There's a lot that you can learn from the veteran teams either in your area or like just going online to like the FTC Reddit or Discord and just asking around and looking at what other teams are up to. Like there's
Yeah,
so much.
all these robot in 3 days, 30 hours, 3 weeks, they're all coming out and it's like the robot's already done. It's like yeah, there's so many things to do, but there's such a few amount of ways to really do it, right? You can either have an intake that goes one side and that'll take the same side or double sided, right? So it's how do you want to do it? And another big thing for rookie teams or even the first, second, third year teams, just teams relatively new to FTC is that if you don't want to waste the parts or if like a business is a thing you're definitely worried about, especially because of COVID, right? Businesses aren't so really aren't so ready to give out the money as they would maybe in other seasons. Is that cat it, because if you cat it, you'll know you need this, and this, and you could figure out ways to reduce the amount of parts in CAD. After buying all the stuff, I mean, you can't really, if you don't need it anymore, then you can't just really go and, I mean, you can, I mean, sell it off, but I mean, right, that's also another hassle, and you won't get full price back. So it's just a thing that make sure you know what you need before you actually purchase it. And when you purchase everything, make sure you purchase everything, because tax and shipping for some of these things are like $10 extra, which is a lot for a rookie team. And we
Especially.
definitely felt the shipping fees for a lot of things.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. Um, do you guys like how do we say this? Like, do you guys are there any like sources of inspiration, especially for not even just robot? Besides, I know you guys are pretty close with Super Seven, so you guys do you guys like bounce ideas off of like a lot of other FTC teams and like
Yeah, definitely. I
Yeah.
mean, even recently, a member of Super Seven came over to my house, and while we weren't really doing robotics, it just came into conversation, and we started bouncing off ideas into each other, right? So it's a thing where that, yeah, I'm competing against Team Seven for Super Seven for Seven Super Seven, but it did not mean we could work together and both become really good teams, right? And I think that's just the thing that all teams need to have in mind, that you're not really wanting the other team to lose, but if you can both do well, then you'll both move on. And it's that whole thing that if everyone improves, that just means that you'll know more. And the next time there's a game like this, your team will be even more ready than you are this year to approach the same task, because there's only so many things you can do in robotics. So, I mean, they're always shifting and cycling like the types of games.
obviously
Yeah.
until
Yeah.
first throws some new like new design
Yeah,
challenge.
a water game, hopefully.
Oh yeah,
Hopefully,
water
Yeah.
game, water game.
the 2 years I have left of FTC, hopefully there's some sort of water game. I really hope for. Yeah,
Yeah.
Uh, all right, let's see if we have anything from chat. None so far. Any? We'll see if we get any more last minute questions from chat, and if we don't have anything else, I guess we can start wrapping up, right?
Yeah.
that works.
All right.
Uh,
We'll give chat a minute or two, but any closing thoughts on?
yeah. So like one thing, like I know we were talking about like where to like you can like look into other teams for like robot inspiration stuff like that. Like now with like the kind of online format, a lot of the top teams will be posting like videos of their robot in action and their matches. So like instead of like I know in competition you might not have that much time to watch like other teams' robots because like you're running around the place. But like we probably like you can probably like watch like more videos of like, other teams' robots like not only like in like Space Coast League and like in Florida, but like teams from like other states and across the world will be posting their robot videos online. So you can all watch their videos and stuff.
Yeah, and definitely reaching out to any team that you have like a question for, because I know for sure this year, since a lot of teams are basically online or like for like partially online at least, um, a lot more teams are gonna like be or more willing to like answer any questions, especially if you're a rookie team and you're just looking to get started. Like asking any of those teams that you're like, oh, how did they do this one particular like what whatever task it is, or even if it's not robot related, if it just happens to be um, a cool outreach initiative that they do or a cool um, something cool that they do with their branding, something like that. Like just reach out.
Yeah, don't ever be afraid to ask any team
Yeah.
questions because no matter what their status is in FTC, Inspire Award winner, this or that, they will always be willing to help. And I mean, I've seen that from experience. I've talked to like the teams that don't perform as well, to teams that have won Inspire Award, and it's just that they will all help you the best they can, and it's that no really team is looking for the other team's downfall. So yeah, especially this year, people will be ready to help in the blink of a second. So always ask if you need anything.
All right, I guess that will be the end of our fifth live stream now. So
Yeah.
thank you guys for coming on.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah, no
Yep, thank
problem.
you.
This was a lot
Uh,
of fun. And
Yeah.
we'll see you guys in our next live stream on next Saturday. I think the same time as well with FTC 9110, the Wired Cats. So that'll be
yeah,
a
we'll
fun
be sure to
stream.
watch it.
Yep.
All right,
All right, see you guys.
see ya. You guys stick around.
Bye.
Is